This is AI as fuck.
Steve, I have a question for you. Do you remember your dreams when you were a grade school student, grade or middle school?
I remember a handful of them, and they tend to be the weird, almost scary dreams. Like I remember a couple of rotund people who were trying to keep me from getting into my house, and they were bouncing me between their bellies. And I couldn't scream, but I have this very clear recollection of these two people who were like, bad people who were trying to keep me out of their house. Some weird
Sounds
little dreams like
horrifying.
that. Yeah, it's a little horrifying ones. I think that still stick with me.
It's funny because I don't have horrifying dreams anymore. I'm wondering if we become, as we go into adulthood, if those kind of like viscerally scary, terror, horrifying dreams kind of subside. It's more like personal issues like, oh, I forgot to take the class and I'm not graduating, or I forgot my locker combination, or my teeth are falling out. Are you having do you still have those kind of horror-filled dreams these days? Or was it pretty much when you were a child?
No, and I've wondered about this a lot, where a lot of the dreams that I recall lately, or at least within the last decade or whatever, are more. They seem more real life oriented.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're extensions of things that are very clearly going on in my life at any given time, or fears that are going on out there. Like the horrifying dreams are closer to the reality of what's going on in the world. Right?
Yeah.
I've had some proximity to gun violence in some situations. So I've had some like gun violence type dreams and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that there's an element of my dreams that are closely reflecting my reality, and then every once in a while I'll have one that's a little bit more. Typically the door dream. The door dream comes up for me a lot, where I'm navigating through some sort of a building through doors. Ultimately trying to get out of the space, and I still haven't made it out. And I end up back in that same space from time to time, or I end up in weird travel dreams where I'm, stuck in an airport. I'm trying to hide or get away from something, or trying to find my gate, and I can't do it. It's just part of a travel situation like that.
Yeah. Well, that was kind of, I think, one of the premises that I brought into this incredible experience that we just finished a couple of weeks ago, where we went down to an AI tech savvy grade school in Southern Texas in Brownsville. And we taught a day-long workshop called Dream Builders, which was geared to help students sort of harvest their dreams and then translate them into visual artifacts, namely video. So that was the idea I had. I thought, well, as kids, dreams tend to be, I experience dreams to be more fantastical, more surreal. And I always thought it would be interesting to put that into a visual medium. So we kind of got away with it, didn't we?
I think we did. And as you say that, I remember reading a Neil Gaiman quote at one point. He's like, dream logic is not story logic. And I think once you start to capture your dream in some way, you start to apply some level of logic to it. So I think that was an interesting part of the exercise as well, was how do you take these fantastical things that we try to make sense of in the middle of the night and put a structure to them in a way that you could express it in some sort of
Absolutely. Way. Yeah. And the other premise that we were going on was that there are actually quite a few movies and cultural artifacts that have been inspired by dreams, namely Avatar.
Yeah. So many things. It's part of. I always find that, at least for me, there are seeds of creative ideas in there. Like, you're not gonna, at least for me, I'm not gonna dream like a whole short film, but I might dream an element or two that I'd pull out of it. Or,
yeah,
I know like David Lynch and Catching the Big Fish, his book, he talks about, meditation and that dreamlike state, kind of helps him to get to bigger ideas and more interesting ideas. If you kind of explore that dreamscape and you explore the edges of what your mind is actually telling you.
Absolutely. And I know another thing that was on our mind, or was on my mind, was that, looking at this younger generation coming up, we assume that they're tech savvy, that they've sort of lost all ability to do anything analog and to write anything, and that they're sort of immersed in this kind of screen world. And part of it was kind of feeling bad. I'm like, oh, well, we really need to help them recapture this sort of inner life and inner world that they may not be paying close attention to because of that sort of external pull to screens and videos and AI and whatnot. So that was my assumption going in. Was it yours as well, or were you a little more open-minded about it?
I was curious to see. I hadn't spent time lately with kids in that age range. I mean, my kids are well beyond that, but it was more. I had that recognition of just the gestational moment that they're going through. That there's so much going on in their lives that is so intense to them, and so in so many different ways, and that creativity is. For the kids who are able to tap into their creativity in some sort of a productive way, who get joy out of their creativity, you could kind of see that bubbling up. But you could see kids who maybe on the surface you wouldn't say, oh, that's a creative kid, who had just some amazing ideas and maybe just didn't know how to express them in some way. So they're all sort of like boiling and churning, and there's all kinds of stuff going on in their heads. And so it was really interesting to kind of hear some of the stuff that's going on in their heads. And some of it is some of it felt. I mean, I think there's a lot of that in those creative exercises where they're repeating things they've seen elsewhere. They're repeating shows they've watched or something, right? They're picking up on stylistic cues from the culture, but then occasionally there's actually unique ideas in what they're doing, or they're taking ideas that they've seen or heard somewhere and sort of expanding on them. So just
that's a good point.
Yeah,
there was a lot of hybrid, like there was a shark. There was one video that involved the threat of a shark and then punching the shark, and so we could say, oh, maybe that came from was it from the collective unconscious fear of water, or was it from seeing Jaws?
Seeing
Jaws. Where does that come from?
It's you look at. I've been thinking about this the other day. Like, I don't know. I grew up on TV, right? And like I look at. Our generations were like the first one that maybe had this media forever, and the amount of media that these kids are consuming now is so much greater even than what we were consuming. We all at least have like a shared understanding of certain shows. We've all watched the same shows. It was all like we all watched Sesame Street. We all like there was a block of things that everybody watched, and now with the media landscape as it is too, like these kids might be watching 100 different YouTube channels. Like they're like the younger kids are watching people play, Minecraft, or watching people play Zelda. Like there's all kinds of things that are now influencing maybe what's going on in the inner life of these kids. It's a very noisy world.
Yeah, so let's try to recall some of the themes of the output that we saw. One thing I noticed was a lot around relations with other classmates. There was, and I don't know if that was an artifact of a dream that some were having, if some were dreaming of their classmates in these conflict or magical scenarios, or if that was something they kind of built in their story building. But I remember when I was in second grade, I was put together in a pod of 4 with two other people. It was just me actually, and 2 boys who were had behavioral issues. And so a lot of my dreams that year were stress dreams about managing their behavior. And so I actually was dream journaling about it because it's so difficult, because I had to manage constantly these outbursts and these disruptions of these 2 boys. So I had a lot of dreams about that. So I thought it was interesting that some elements of that were kind of showing up in the projects.
Yeah, and it certainly wasn't split, down the middle like this, but I felt like there were a few of the teams of girls who in particular had really tight bonds with their friends. Like you could see that there was a real friendship there, and that some of their dreams coexisted. Right, it's like there was more overlap there. Like there were recurring characters in those situations. Like I did feel like some of the boys' dreams were maybe a little more isolated and scary and sort of out there. But there was kind of that interesting overlap of what do you remember? How do your friends show up in that scenario? And again, for the context of people listening, we basically had the teams to get together, share their dreams, and they were able to mix and match stories, or at least so they were at least able to start to look at the overlap of those stories as well. which was I thought fascinating too, because they were
Yeah.
you start to piece together the pieces of the weird, and it comes together in a good way.
Yeah, and they were so open to doing that. I mean, we had primed them for a couple of weeks before. We gave them an exercise, sort of a workbook on how to capture your dreams, how to identify them, how to write them, and just getting in the habit of dream journaling and writing it out, and maybe recording it when you wake up in a recorder, so you have it sort of captured as in depth as possible. And so that was a way to get them in the habit of paying attention to their dreams and then coming up with maybe something they could bring to the group.
Mm-hmm. And
so then what happened? We got there. Then what happened then?
then what happened? Yeah, it comes.
Then
we were able to. Well, so yeah, we're just running through the process. Then we helped them set up the structure, right? Like we had them take their dreams and put it into some sort of a story structure, so they understood. There's characters. There's maybe a good guy. There's maybe a bad guy. Stuff happens. And we did all of that before touching a computer, right? Like that was all, just interactive discussion around what are the elements of your dreams that could actually lead you to create a story that somebody else might be interested in watching, right? Because again, it's not necessarily just about here's my dream. It's about creating art. It's about creating something that where you communicate not just the action of the dream, but the emotion of the dream or the intent of the dream, or at least try to explore what the visuals and other things mean around that. So then from there, we introduced them to this world of AI, creative AI, which they thought was like when you ask people, what do you know about AI and creating videos and stuff, and what's their first reaction?
Slop.
Like they thought, okay, great, like slop. And we're certainly in the middle of. We're still in the slop phase, largely, of AI, right? Like I think when you first have a creative tool or a new something that people are using, they use it to create stupid things and silly things. So, like a lot of the AI content these kids had seen was basically slop because that's what's been highlighted in the culture. That's what gets picked up in the algorithms, and that what was kind of out there. So we were able to walk them through how do you create an image with AI? How do you use tools like Nano Banana and Midjourney, and without getting you too technical with them, just like how do you create a tool? And it's as simple as typing. I want an orange, and if you want an angry orange, you type angry orange.
I think that was probably the funnest part for me was getting them all in that room in front of the big screen, and you were guiding them through this process and kind of giving them permission to just go wild.
Yeah.
And to just put aside their critiques of slop and what they've been sort of subjected to and be like, all right, what do you want to see? And as they iterated, just things got crazier and crazier. Can you remember that Pop-Tart cat? The evolution of the Pop-Tart cat in space.
Yeah, it's if you have could you draw? Were you an artist as a kid? Could you draw?
Yeah, I did. Yes.
I was not a kid who could draw. So if I tried to draw something, it just looked like crap. And so like just the idea of being able to sit down and say, oh, I can actually make something that looks interesting. I can make an angry orange, or I can make a Pop-Tart cat flying through space or whatever.
Yeah.
And evolve that and evolve that idea. And, I mean, I think that's where the Nano Bananas and Midjourneys, allow you to iterate on ideas. Now, there's obviously something to be said for that hand-drawn process, and it's still an amazing art form to do that. There were a couple kids in the class who did that, who were like sketching before they got into the tools.
It was almost like storyboarding. Classic storyboarding work, right?
Yeah.
And that I think surprised both of us. And I think in my reflection piece I posted on LinkedIn, that was like a big takeaway. Like we assumed that they before they opened up a laptop, they're like getting pencils to paper and sketching it out, which I was thrilled about.
They wrote they wrote their whole stories down, and as they approached, so we taught them the image tools, which is the baseline for all the AI creative work, and then we sort of introduced them to the video tools. And for people who don't know, if you haven't played with the video tools, you basically start with an image and you animate it. So you can take that idea that was in your head and then add action, and in its basic sense, that's as complex as these things are. Like here's the image, make it move. And it's how you communicate with the system about how it moves or what it does, that starts to give that piece more life. and creativity. And the kids jumped on that right away. Like once they saw what was possible,
Yeah.
they had,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah. We started with Pop-Tart Cat, and we ended with some little little Scorsese kids who were like, I just want to make sure this is the precise expression of my idea
Right.
in different forms.
Yeah. So, I mean, how did this all begin? Let's rewind,
Yeah.
rewind with our analog tape of memory back to, what was it, 2023, 2024, early 2024, when we did the AI for communicators class through Reagan. And so we were just kind of getting to know each other again, and you were just starting to really excel at this AI video, in this AI video genre. And I remember you giving this whole presentation to like 600 or so communication professionals, and they were just like, jaws were dropping on the floor. They were both like fascinated, awestruck, and terrified at the ramifications of being able to do this, especially in an area of like communications, when trust and brand is everything. So, and I remember I had been developing this whole dream work practice and started doing this podcast. And I was also using AI to visualize my dreams, not in video, just, little compilation images where I would kind of extract the key message or phrase or whatever was sort of the key to the unlocking the dream, and I would visualize it. And that was really helpful for me. It was almost like a therapeutic process to kind of capture the essence of the dream in a visualization form. And I had interviewed someone about dream capturing technology, fMRI, and AI had just kind of been, Gen AI just come out. So we were talking about the future and when it's going to be possible to actually capture the content of your dreams. And I think after that, people kept sending me video or reports of, like, in Japan, they were starting to do this, and there were sort of early indicators of how do you actually do dream capture with technology. And I think I asked you, I'm like, hey, do you think we could try this, at least the video form, with, like doing a class for creatives or something? And I think we just kind of sat on that for a couple of years. And then in the meanwhile, in a conversation with somebody from the Alpha School, Paige Fultz, at an AI event we were doing in Austin, this idea kind of flourished. And then I brought it back to you and said, okay, what do you think? And at that point, you said the technology had evolved to the point where it was possible.
It was easy. And one of the first tools that I used back in the day when these tools first came out, Luma Labs had an AI model. It was called the Dream Machine, appropriately enough.
Yeah.
And it was, one of the first text to video systems. And it was where I started experimenting. Like, I personally was experimenting with that. And it was, the humans were terrible. Like the consistency was weird. It had all the hallmarks of weird AI early on. But there were a few things that worked really well. So I started doing like my cat videos. I had my AI cat videos because the model recognized cats, and cats could be consistent in that framework. And what's always been interesting, especially about Luma, was just that ability to, it did have a dreamlike quality to it. Like the best AI art does have a dreamlike quality to it. Like if you look at, the mid-journey pieces of it, people point to the AI stylistic things, but there is like a dreamlike quality if you prompt things correctly, because it is, all the models are stuck in this engineering reality where they're trying to replicate reality perfectly but can't get it quite right. I guess it's like a dream. It's kind of like a dream state. Like they've existed in this dream state. Like they're trying to get to this perfect engineering state where you can just prompt exactly what you want and get exactly what you want, versus this like artistic state. So I hadn't thought about that before, but that middle ground is, AI is in a dream state as we try to figure out how do we replicate reality. We are creating this whole new world and this whole new consciousness, if you will, that lives in this strange digital space and that we have control over. And then all of a sudden we're back in simulation. Like
very electric sheep, if you know the reference.
Yes.
Very electric sheep.
Very electric sheep.
Shout out to Spot Draves.
But for these kids, the evolution of this, right? Like I think the evolutions that made the class possible even now are some of the more agentic systems where you can start to where Luma now has like a creative agent. And this is not a we're not being paid by Luma, but if they want to, they can call us. But the Luma platform now has access to multiple models, and you can collaborate. It's a Luma Labs platform is one of the first collaborative AI tools where it's not just sending you away to interact with the computer in space. And this Luma platform let teams sort of go in and work in this collaborative area. And to me, that's been the beginning of that's just one more step in this creative evolution that is AI. That as people learn to use these tools creatively, that things get really interesting, and you can start to create.
Yeah.
As a solo creator, you can create some things. What was interesting to me was to watch how easily the kids picked up on the team aspects of it. How do you collaborate on building a story or creating things or creating images? How do you help each other? How do you help other people get across that they want?
And that's really what we've lost so much of that group learning process in the age of like AI, and we're all solopreneurs. So many of us solopreneurs behind our screens by ourselves, and this was like a complete mind. This completely flipped the script.
Yeah,
for me at least. I mean, I haven't seen people work together on an AI platform, so that was really enlightening, and I would really encourage educators to take a look at that and to try to adapt that model.
Yeah, I mean, even in thinking about traditional film or video work, it is typically siloed. The writer goes away and writes and comes and hands it over to a director, who hands it over to a storyboard artist, who hands it over to an assistant director. Like there's a lot of handoffs between people. And when you start to look at the speed with which you could do things with AI, it doesn't make sense to do the handoff like remotely or virtually, right? Like if I get something done right now, I want to show it to you right now. So like it's almost like that AI collaboration fosters a more connected environment. If you can have 3 or 4 or 5 people working in one space and providing instant feedback, as opposed to the traditional. I mean, that's the traditional like film process where it's like, oh, the storyboard's off, fix this storyboard, and Bob goes back and fixes the storyboard. And, it's a whole new world like for collaboration.
Yeah. So, and with anything with AI, I mean, things don't always work perfectly. There's always technical challenges. Can you reflect on some of the key technical issues that showed up, in the classroom, and how they got resolved, and what we can all learn from that?
Well, let's talk about IT governance, cloud connectivity. Yeah, I mean, it's so interesting. Like it's sometimes it's harder to get connected and to get everybody on the right platform than it is to use the tools themselves. So I think our fundamental problems were more around that connectivity than the tools themselves. But I guess I'm trying to think of like if we had done it differently. Like I would. You wonder what the rooms of the future look like. Like I remember, like at one point they talked about like the IBM Watson boardroom, where it was almost like Minority Report, and you'd go on the wall, and you'd start like doing that. It's like, well, like, is that environment coming? What would, if you had a fully interactive environment where it's like, okay, I'm going to sit over here and prompt, and my thing's going to pop up over here, and then I can grab that. As opposed to working on these little tiny screens in front of us.
Let's hope so. Hey, investors and visionaries and founders, builders, take note.
Take note.
Take note.
That's right. The giant creative wall. It's funny. Like even smart boards blow my mind. Like when teachers use the smart boards, like I don't understand how they work, but there's got to be something to be said for these more interactive experiences. And yeah, I mean long term too. Like I see it on my own computer, and certainly we would have run into this there. Like it does burn a lot of credits and compute power to create these images.
Yes, they do. So let's talk about that.
Yeah. And
you hate AI data centers? Well,
well, yeah. It's a scary trade-off of that. I think, and I don't know the math. I don't know. I still don't understand how credits work. Like I do, but it's we went through I think almost 30,000 credits for that class. 30,000
And there were four groups, so four
Yeah.
plus you and I were on it
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
And I created something, so that was what, six people, six
Yeah.
pieces,
Yeah.
plus all
in
the
one day.
starting pieces. Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
where I feel like the tools started, where Luma started and Veo and Midjourney, right? They started with this idea that if I am creating, great, I just need to create one thing at a time. Like I just need an image, or maybe I'll get a couple. Like Midjourney, I think their default is something like 4 images. Like if you give me a prompt, we'll give you 4 flavors to choose from. That's kind of the default. And as you get into these environments where it's so easy to iterate, you know, I see that on my real projects now, where it's like I'm going to do 100 iterations. I'm going to do 100 and pick the one that I want.
Yeah.
And so that burns credits too, and the video burns even more credits. So you iterate, because it's so easy to do. You iterate on the video prompt, but each of those video prompts is still going through so many credits. Like it adds up, and the systems that we have today aren't built to withstand that volume of creative activity.
Right. I mean, if we were to do it again, maybe, or if we do it again, which I hope we do, maybe we say, okay, you have three iterations you can do, and then pick the best one. So we try to scale it within our means.
Yeah. And again, it speaks to the long-term. There was a narrative around the democratization of creativity, that these tools like Runway and Luma, like they would make it easier to do filmmaking. And what we're seeing now is that that's not necessarily true anymore, because initially they were all spending the VC dollars to give away free access to the tools. And that's the only way people are going to learn to use them, is if they can use them cheaply and inexpensively. Like nobody's going to go teach themselves AI video, you know, necessarily. So it's like the camcorder. Like when you're like, I had a camcorder in 6th grade, right? Like good. Like I was so proud to have my camcorder, but it wasn't like the best camcorder on the market either. But it's interesting when technology enters the creative picture, it becomes a gatekeeper, unfortunately. And you know, that's the part that's. I wish you could just let. If we really want this art form to thrive, we really want this technology to thrive, we need to let as many kids as possible out there use it. You know, it can't be about, you know, how do we make sure that Google makes the most money with Veo, or you know, or ChatGPT makes the most money with Sora. Like if these technologies are meant to improve our lives, we have to find ways to open them up to more users around the world.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I know, like you hire people, you hire creatives, you're always looking at talent. What did these kids kind of exhibit from an up and coming creative sort of resource for you that you're not seeing in today's professionals? Or what could today's professionals wanting to sort of break into this creative field with AI, or really use AI better, learn from the kids at the Alpha School?
Fearlessness. The kids at the school had no fear. They just jumped right in, were able to imagine, and they let their imagination go, right? Like they let it flow. I think what I typically see, and again, you know, we're dealing with people who are using this for, you know, I'm in marketing for a B2B SaaS company. Okay, great. So my creative palette is very set, and I need my templates, and I need my Photoshop, and I need my Adobe Illustrator, and it has to sit like this. And what the kids showed me is that, man, you know, if you take some of those guardrails off, if you're just like, you know, and I hate to use the word vibing, I hate to be that guy, but if you're vibe creative,
it's okay.
Yeah, if
you're safe here.
Yeah, if you're in that mode of like vibe creation, it's a different spot, right? Like you can get to that spot where you're like, okay, what about this? What about this? What about this? And it's that flow of information and ideas and that instant judgment. You know, there was one team in particular who had a very precise vision of what they wanted visually, and they spent a lot of time perfecting the images that they had. You know, we had the other team who was kind of flowing with the Shark team was flowing a little bit more with like, okay, we want this, and so they were iterating at a different level, and it was that understanding when and where and how to exercise judgment in a way to get the output that you want. It was great. And then And our last team, the last team,
The last team, yes. Was it anime? What was the style they used? What would you call that?
dark anime.
Dark anime, yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That that was epic.
So these were on the
Yeah.
surface, like flying by those kids. I'm like, these kids are just goofing off. Like that was my impression from the outsider walking by. These
Hmm.
kids are just goofing around because they weren't really accomplishing anything. But what they had accomplished, what they ended up doing, was writing basically a 3-act prompt with shot instructions for their whole video. And so this blew my mind because this is not something I've done. But they took this whole series where they described the style, and they had basically combined, I think, 3 people's dreams into different sequences for this hero to kind of overcome this journey. They had created a hero's
Yeah.
journey from beginning to end, and they had written it out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what was crazy to me is like at the end, they're trying to type the whole story into the prompt, which I've never done because Luma has an agentic tool in there that takes whatever you put in there and then figures out the steps to get things done. Like that's a new addition. If we had done this 3 years ago, that didn't exist. Before it was like one prompt, one video. Now you have this agentic system that says, oh, you want to build this story, where I'm going to build you this storyboard and animate these things. And the content that they had put in that flow from that, the hardest part I think for them was typing. Right? Like,
Typing it out, yeah.
did you take a
Totally.
typing class?
I did. Yeah, I did.
Me too. Do you think these kids
Yeah.
would take a typing class? Like,
No. Are they one finger typers?
like I'm pretty much a one finger typer. Like, but I remember going to typing class. Like, it was a big deal. Like, hey, you better learn to type because this typing is going to be huge. Like, this
It's going to be a valuable life skill, a valuable skill to bring to future employers. Yeah.
Can you imagine? Like, that was in our lifetime. Where we
I know.
had-
I can remember like being asked what my typing speed score was in various job applications at a certain decade.
yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
and that was like, hey, look, you can type, and the words show up on the paper. And we were excited, right? Like it was like that was the creative journey. And now it's like you can type and you can have a movie come out of that, right? Like that's like,
Yeah.
you know. But
Yeah.
so typing that, it was a little painful to watch him type it out, but he was he was actually a pretty good typist. Like there were no typos in it when I ended up like cutting and pasting and seeing the whole thing. And it was so complicated we couldn't get it done in the room. But I ran the prompt later, and that probably burned 10,000 of our credits or something, right? Because it did that agentic thing where it took the entire story, storyboarded the entire thing, and flowed the whole thing out. So from one really well thought out upfront idea, we got like a 3-minute short film out of that.
And it was compelling too. It was
Yeah.
heart-wrenching, compelling. I mean, wow.
Yeah.
Pretty mind-blowing. Yeah, good stuff, guys. If you're listening, we're really impressed.
And like that blew me away. Like that to me spoke to this creative potential of getting this in the right hands, of opening it up.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have the capability to create anything like that at that age. I was typing, right? Like maybe I could write a story, maybe I could draw a picture, maybe I could put something on the wall. So recognizing there certainly are ethical issues with AI and how they built these models and everything, but just having them in the hands of creative people is unlocks some really amazing things.
Yeah, no, I agree. So, what do we do with this? We had this one kind of experience. I mean, this is I guess a call out to anyone out there listening that we would love to co-create something similar. Because I'm jazzed. I am jazzed from this experience. And I know you were too. We were kind of riding high and thinking every school should do this. Not even just schools, but I would say workplaces having like a half-day free day, a day where they get to kind of unleash their creativity this way. It can be very empowering.
Yeah, it speaks to the economic arguments or the economic story of AI, which has been, make businesses more efficient and do this and that. And, how do we teach with AI? And you get this, to me, it's just like this idea that AI is only for efficiency is so frustrating.
Yeah.
And everything we're teaching is about efficiency, and it's not always about And it's, you know, how do we craft education for people, schools, businesses, right? Like this is a huge gap in the AI market right now. You know, this isn't just about AI for business. This is about AI for life and for being AI for art. And
Yeah.
because the art community has been so negative towards AI, and rightfully so in some ways,
Hmm.
you know, they're not necessarily learning these tools, and so
Right.
there's that gap. So if you could have like a more art friendly, creative friendly culture, you know, there's very few people out there teaching creative AI. You know, there's maybe even
No, there's not.
in the AI film space.
Yeah.
In the AI film space, Curious Refuge does a great job. You know, they're affiliated with one of the AI studios, but that's, you know, AI for filmmaking, AI for advertising. You know, and
Hmm.
it's great information, and it will help fuel this next generation. But you know, we're missing those kids, and if we can find a way to kind of reach those kids or reach those young people who, or any people who aren't afraid to use new tools, we need to jump on that.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you have coming up in this realm? Anything related that you're offering or you have planned that you want to share?
I've got two exciting projects that I can't talk about yet. Which is kind of what.
Okay, watch the space.
Yeah,
Watch Talentless AI. Yeah.
watch the space. Yeah, what I'm seeing in the professional creative world is a willingness to at least think about and talk about what happens with AI. You know, so
Mm-hmm.
where I'm looking at working with a filmmaker now who's got their film in pre-production, and at least where a lot of AI is happening now is as a bolt-on, where it's like AI for VFX. Like, okay, we've made our movie. Now I need a shot of the werewolf. Traditional VFX are too weird or expensive. Let me try AI just to see what it can do. And so, how do you start to create from moment one? You know, to take your to actually refine the whole creative process at the beginning to say, okay, this is my story with AI from a film perspective. So, also talking to these people who are doing a musical.
Mm.
So we may do an AI musical.
Hmm. I can't wait to hear more about that.
Yeah, yeah. So I hope these projects,
Yeah.
like any creative project, right? Like we'll see where they flow. But just this idea: can you make AI actors sing?
But
What?
you can, nice thing about AI is you can prototype these. You can
Yeah,
say before we pour, a ton of money into this, you
yeah,
can actually get a quick snippet so you get a real vision of how this is going to look and feel.
yeah. You could have
Yeah.
you know, for the musical, like they're talking about doing a real live in person musical, and that this would be exactly what you said, a prototype just to test it, right? To test the tires, you know, kick the tires on it, see if the pacing works. You know, we just
Yeah.
flow all the music through, and you know, the visuals don't have to be perfect for that. They just have to get things across, and it starts to give you a sense of how the pieces come together. So AI as an early piece of collaboration and iteration, I think is really really interesting. But yeah, I think
Hmm.
we'll definitely be doing more classes on
Yes.
dreams and AI, creative focused AI classes for sure.
It's such a rich field. It's such a rich, I mean, it's never ending. Your dreams are it's this infinite quantum state. I
Yeah,
mean, anything can happen. So that's why, like, really getting in touch with your dreams and learning how to do the dream work is really the foundational piece of this. So I teach dream work tools and techniques. We have a workshop at the end of August 24th through 28th in Barcelona, where we're going to be going into this method called embodied imagination, which you really go into a space where you get to interact with your dream elements. It's pretty magical stuff. And then at the end of June, I'm teaching a class at the AI with the AI Alliance Summer School on finding your human value. So this is kind of the general context. So how do we stay human and even enhance our humanness, and how do we retrieve our human value or recover our human value in the era of AI when AI knows everything, can do everything you do, quote unquote. So I'm really hoping it's an empowering session, and I'm going to bring some of these learnings from this experience into that workshop.
that'll be, and I'll be doing AI video at that same event. So like a condensed version of what we covered with the kids. Like what was nice was to have the ability to have the time to kind of get into stuff, work
Yeah.
stuff. So, wow, I want to go to the Barcelona workshop. How do people sign up for that?
They can reach out to me. I do have a kind of a Canva description of it, and then we have like a 15-minute kind of interview call, because it's for people who are doing that kind of inner work, somatic work, working with altered states. That's another great use case for it. People who are having visions or having like really working on their trauma and really want to kind of embody it and sort of work through it in a therapeutic, safe way.
And how long does that class take, or like what does that look like?
That's a 4-day workshop, so it's an
Wow.
intensive. So we're going to be going like all day for 4 days at a beautiful space in the middle of Barcelona.
Excellent. That sounds great.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it was great collaborating with you. I mean, it was a work in progress over a few years, and I'm glad we did it. And I'm psyched to do more. So
I can't wait for the next one.
Let's keep going. Yeah, I can't wait for the next one.
All right.
Okay.
AI AF is a production of Talentless AI. Your host is Steve Mudd. Edited by Dakota Seed. Music and graphics were generated using AI.